duty, and that's when you go out and when Empire North calls up and says, Sandy, we've got 200 people in this building and the water main just broke and we don't have any bathrooms, and Sandy says, I'll take care of it, and he gets on the phone and calls the guy with Portalets and has him there an hour later. That's stuff that typical IDAs don't do, and that's why people have become endeared to coming to Greene County. That's why we've been able to buck the tide, and we've been successful when other IDAs have not been, because we've jumped through hoops to give people good service and give them opportunities that they wouldn't get in other counties.
You're talking to the choir. I'm not saying that. In fact, in some cases, bonuses are great. If that's what the board decides to do in order to get its work done, you'll not have an argument from me. It's the issue of how it's arrived at, what are the specific criteria, and how is the job description done. And I guess my question would be, does the executive director ever get home? I mean, if you look at his normal job, if you look at the normal job description of that position, and then you take into consideration other duties, how does one do that? How does one do that in a normal work week, or even with some overtime?
So, you know what? Here's the answer to that, and the best person to answer that is Renee Mathis. But I can tell you something. The answer is, I don't know when he's at home. He is always working. He's in his office at 6 o'clock in the morning. I get emails from him at 11 o'clock at night to look at proposals and look at drafts. The guy, whether he's in his home or whether he's at the office, he's working. He spends countless hours working there. I think that he told me in 2008, we asked him to keep track of his hours because we wanted to do a little time study because we were trying to focus him a little bit more on how he spent his time. And I think he said he spent 700 or 800 hours of extra time that year working on projects. So, call Renee. Don't take it from me.
I don't want to get into individuals specifically. I'm talking about the job itself. If you're asked, and it's something we'll have to discuss. If you're asking for that person to do all this, I guess that's something that's going to lead to a further discussion. And I'll let some of the other members.
And you know, we invite that because.
Well, because I think the whole point of this, the crux of the argument is that, and I think you're admitting that now, is that there wasn't enough criteria on the books for what you did previously, but you're agreeing that in the future we're going to do so.
Absolutely. I mean, first, look. I mean, the thing morphed. It kind of went on, and look. There's. I think it's clear, but I can see how when you read it, because look, we can disagree on what it means. So therefore, we need to do a better job. That was the discussion we had with the budget office. And we hear you. There isn't a member of our board who doesn't hear you. That's why we put out the olive branch to say, okay, look, you're right. Let's do a better job. But let's do it in a way that doesn't lose our focus of jobs, investment, taxes, and therefore we just keep going with our economic development. Because if we don't, we're going backwards.
And I think at least I agree with that.
Forrest, I'd also like to say that the paper may reflect, but we've got all our board members here, and they should chime in at this point in time. But we meet regularly, we have discussions. I don't think that there was any discrepancy in terms of the board, in terms of us understanding what we expected as normal compensation and effort, and what was bonus. I think that everyone was on the same page on that.
It just wasn't written down.
It wasn't written down in the detail that some people.
It was written down. And again, the process was we would meet as a comp committee. They would invite me for what I thought. And then we would make a recommendation to the board.
What I mean is, in other words, for our review now, or for a public authority board review a few weeks or whatever it was ago, unless I'm missing it, there isn't that full description here of
course, once we realized what it was, we realized, look, we need to do a better job.
Okay.
And then, we're tasked with that. That's mine. Okay, and I'll admit when I could have done a better job.
Karen? Yeah, it's just that we have to know what he got paid for first, which I don't think we, before we can even go into the bonus criteria. And I know Joe Izzo touched a little bit on the bonus criteria, but how did it come place? The compensation committee got around and they came up with the criteria. Did they check with other counties? Now they were based on their criteria. How did these criteria come up?
Okay, let me talk to you a bit about that. We would meet on an annual basis to establish criteria where, again, our goal was jobs, investment, taxes. And again, it morphed from where we needed to go with shovel-ready sites, because we weren't, to where we are with getting the job done. We would meet with that, and on an annual basis, we would make a recommendation to the board. It was all done, as a discussion item at the boards, which were all open, and that's how it was done. And oftentimes there was an analysis, like setting forth what our rationale was, and could have had more detail. Absolutely, okay, Karen? But the point being is, okay, can't change the past, but we have to go forward.
When you were having these discussions, okay, you and the board, the amount of the bonus, strictly talking about the amount of the bonus, did it ever cross your mind or the board's mind how this was going to be accepted by the public in this environment, the economic environment that we're in right now?
Yes,
Okay. How was that discussed?
yes.
And what was some of your,
We felt,
about that.
let me tell you something. These, look, not from this community, but these members live in this community.
right?
Their businesses, their lives, they're part of this community. They recognized it was a lot of money. They recognized that they got exceptional value. I mean, $71 million, and I understand. But if we didn't do what we did, I'm just telling you the analysis. We recognized we got exceptional value, and that's where we wanted it, and sent where we were successful. That's how it went. I mean, I know you're sitting there saying, what happened? I'm trying to tell you straight up,
Yeah.
what
So
happened.
I would like to know what happened at the table and how you justified the average resident of Green County to make ends meet, how they were gonna receive this type of a bonus. That's all I'd like to know.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about Sandy and the job he does, but I happen to know he's a hard worker.
He is.
And I agree with you there. Just the amount of the bonus is my concern. With
Well,
my
again-
constituents who I represent.
Yeah, again, 2008, was an exceptional year. But prior to that, there were the minutes of the meetings and what we thought, and what we did. And there were years where grant funding, again, remember, we need grants to complete the project so we can sell the land. There were years where, it wouldn't come until later. Some of that was carried over. There was discussions in detail on each of the categories. That's what the controller's opinion requires. We recognize going forward, we need a little more detail. But it was discussed, people realized
You
it.
had concern?
Absolutely.
You did.
I'm not gonna hide it from you, absolutely.
Okay. And all board members had concern?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to touch on that one just a little bit. We as county employees, here's what we're against as legislators. We're kind of exiting our employees to take no increase. We're going through very, very difficult times, not driven by our employees or our management, but more so what's happening from the Albany and the upper levels of support. And we have to face our employees every day with, we can't give you any raise, we can't, merely 2 or 3%. And how they would see this as something like, how do I interpret all this, legislature? And that's a statement, that's not so much of a required fact. But that's what we face as a legislative body, that we're going through, 7 unions, we're going through contracts, we're asking them to hold the line so we get through this economic turndown, and then this comes back, and we're the ones, quite frankly, we're the ones who have to answer to the constituents. We get it every single day out on the street and try to defend what you just said.
Remember one thing,
And I did it recently this morning when, I guess it's historically known that I take a bowl lunch every morning, not my coffee. Now it's become a legislative meeting. I was approached this morning. Well, where's the taxing? My taxes aren't going